Hey everybody, it's Mr. Clint. Welcome to CCUA's Veterans Urban Farm. You're watching this at home right now. Normally this time of year, we'd have all the 3rd and 5th graders come out here to the urban farm and we'd have a fun field trip. But we want to make sure that everybody stays safe. So we're gonna do a whole virtual field trip kind of thing. You probably met Mrs. Keith by video already. Did the survey, the farm to school survey with her. And this is part of that program too. So really what we're gonna do is kind of just walk around the farm today. You're gonna learn all about where vegetables come from, how we grow them, and why we grow them too. We're gonna kind of take you step by step through planting the seed to picking that vegetable off of a plant. All right, let's go. So we know that we're always supposed to eat our fruits and vegetables, right? Even if we don't always want to. And everybody has to eat. So that's what we like to do here on the urban farm, is help to grow those vegetables for our community. So all the food that we grow here goes to the food bank, where people can go and get that food for free. And we've been doing that for about 10 years now. So we're gonna take you on a little story, planting a seed to picking a vegetable. So this is where all of our vegetables start, is in our greenhouse. And I always like to ask, well, if it's a greenhouse, why did we paint it blue? And that's because with a greenhouse, it doesn't really matter what color it is. What happens is all the sunlight goes into our big clear roof up here and it lets all the heat in, and it traps it and it doesn't let it out. So what that means is that inside of our greenhouse is warmer than outside. And that just helps give our vegetables a nice good start. So in here right now, we have some scallions that we are going to be planting this fall, and they're going to grow over winter. So you can see in here right now, we have 32 trays of scallions. And we've got some that are getting nice and big, and those will be ready to move out of the greenhouse soon. Some of them, they don't have anything growing yet. And some of them, they just have little baby sprouts growing up right there. But we have 32 of these trays in here, and each one of these trays has about 160 cells. And so when we say a cell, what we mean is just one little block like that. We make these blocks ourselves, and then we plant the seeds in them, and then they go in the ground. So with 32 trays, with 160 little blocks per tray, we do about 12 seeds per block. That is over 50,000 different scallion seeds that we use to grow our scallions. So after our seeds have started in the greenhouse, but before we put them out in our field, they're not quite ready to go right in the ground yet. They have to go to an area we call our hardening off area, which is this funny looking caterpillar tunnel right here. We call it a caterpillar tunnel because of the kind of the shape from the hoops. But we can't put those seeds right in the ground just because they're not used to being outside yet. Inside the greenhouse, they don't have to worry about pests or wind or really harsh sun rays or water or any of that stuff. They get really babied in there. But in our hardening off area, it gives them a chance to be a little more exposed to the elements. Really, it just gets them used to being outside before they go full on in the ground, full sun over there. So over here, this is where all the magic really happens at our farm. These are our field rows. So we've got lots of them. They're about 4 feet wide by 60 feet long, and that's where we grow all of our vegetables. But vegetables aren't the only thing that we grow on our farm. You'll notice we have lots of lovely flowers. And we like to grow flowers for a couple reasons. One of those, because they are gorgeous. Flowers are beautiful. And another reason has to do with how we like to grow things here. So we don't like to use a lot of harsh sprays on our vegetables because we know that it can make our growing it a little bit easier, but it's not so good for our bug friends, for the dirt, or for us. So what we do is we focus on controlling bugs rather than totally getting rid of them. Because we know that even if we don't like the pests, they have their own role to play in the ecosystem, and we want to respect that. So we use something called Integrated Pest Management, or IPM. And really, what that is just ways of lessening the amount of bad bugs that we have on our farm. So all these flowers, they're gonna attract good bugs, bugs like pollinators, or butterflies and bees, but they're also gonna attract bugs that eat the bad bugs. So some of those would be praying mantises, or ladybugs eat bad bugs. Did you know ladybugs eat bugs? That kind of blew my mind when I learned about it. So from here you can see lots of our vegetables. We've got kale, we've got lettuce, we've got sweet potatoes, we've got peppers, tomatoes, we've got okra in the background, all sorts of stuff. So we're just gonna kind of take a walk down and head on down to the bottom of our hill here. My favorite part about farming and gardening is the dirt. I always say healthy people start with healthy food, and healthy food starts with healthy dirt. So our dirt here, we have spent the last 10 years building up and increasing its fertility. That means it's got lots of nutrients and minerals that our plants need to grow. And so we do a lot of different stuff to make sure that we have good soil on our farm. We compost, and we use that compost in our beds. You can see behind me how it looks like this part of the farm just got mowed. That's because it kind of did. We had a cover crop growing there. And what that is a plant that we plant and grow to help keep our soil where it's at so it doesn't erode or wash away, and to also kind of put some of those nutrients back into the soil. Because there's some plants that we can grow that actually help our soil as opposed to depleting it or taking nutrients out. So these are some of my favorite flowers we grow on the farm. These are called zinnias. They're a really easy flower to grow, and they're just gorgeous. You get all these really bright summery colors that just kind of pop. These nice oranges and yellows, purples, you'll get red ones. And again, one of the reasons we grow these flowers is to help attract pollinators. So another really important aspect of our farm and the work we do here is not just the food, but also the environment that we grow that food in. And part of a healthy environment is having a healthy population of insects. And probably the most important insects that we have here on the urban farm are our honeybees. Now, honeybees are awesome because A, they make honey, and who doesn't love honey? But they also pollinate all of our vegetables. Now, they're not the only pollinator we have here on the farm, but they are one of the most important. So they drink the nectar out of the flowers, and then they'll go to another flower to get more nectar, and some of that pollen from the first flower will get into that other flower, and that fertilizes the flower. And then that flower turns into a fruit. So anytime you eat a fruit, whether that's a watermelon, peach, an apple, or even things like tomatoes or peppers or okra, anything that has a seed inside of it, you can thank a pollinator for pollinating it. And it's about 1 out of every 3 bites of food, so about 1/3 of all of our food we have because of pollinators. So without those pollinators, we'd be missing all of those tasty fruits that we love. Most of what we grow on our farm are what we call annual vegetables. That means they grow for just 1 year and then they're done. Examples would be tomato is an annual vegetable, or spinach is an annual vegetable. But we also grow some plants that we call perennials. Those are vegetables that grow year after year after year. So you only have to plant them once, and then you get to keep reaping those benefits. So a few examples are strawberries, which we have right here. And another one is asparagus, which we have behind some of this fennel. And those are both done for the year, unfortunately. Those are both early vegetables. The asparagus is super early in April and May, and then our strawberries are pretty early too, around May and June. This is the final step of our vegetable journey. This is where they all end up. So after we harvest our vegetables, We got to make sure they're safe, so we rinse them off to get any dirt or bugs off of them. Then we put them in these totes here to get shipped off to the food pantry. So right here we've got a bunch of kale. Literally, I guess a bunch of bunches of kale. Down here we have our lovely ladies coming to say hello. These are our laying hens. We have just 2 chickens in here right now. Sometimes we've got more, but just the 2. So these chickens will lay just about 1 egg a day. And here in Columbia, you're actually allowed to have up to 6 hens in the city limits, which that's a lot of eggs. 6 eggs a day? I don't think I could eat that many. They've got a pretty good life here at the farm. We've got this nice chicken run with lots of straw to scratch at, some nice shade, roosting spots, and they've got a little coop over here. We tuck them away in at night to stay away from the predators. And they also love, love, love to eat. And they'll eat just about anything. So this is my favorite part of the farm. Also probably the smelliest. This is our compost area. So compost is the most basic, but also the most complicated part about gardening or farming. Like I said earlier, good food comes from good soil, and good compost is a great foundation for that soil. So what this is basically just a bunch of old plants. So all of our produce that maybe the tomato got a little rotten on the vine, when our tomatoes are done producing, the tomato vines can go in here, raked leaves, grass clippings, pretty much anything that was once alive can go into this compost system, and it will get slowly broken down over time into essentially dirt. It's a pretty magic process to watch happen. See all this wood and leaves and food just kind of turn into brown dirt. But it doesn't happen by magic, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a little bit, and it takes a lot of work from our FBIs, our fungus, bacteria, and invertebrates. So that's things like mushroom, mold, roly-polies, maggots, ants, all working together to make this awesome, what we call humus, not hummus. You don't want to eat this. Just use it to grow our food. Over here, we've got our outdoor classroom. This is where normally we would have groups come out and learn and taste all of our food. Of course, we all know this year's been a little bit different, so we don't have all those groups out here like we normally would, but we're still kind of maintaining it and growing some tasty food. So we can look at a few of the plants we've got going over here. Oh, and this is such a fun one. These are ground cherries. So these are kind of like a tomatillo, if you've ever had one of those. Kind of look like a tomatillo too. They just grow these little kind of paper lantern looking things, but you can actually just pop those open, and there's a little kind of yellow-green berry looking thing, and it is technically a berry, but they kind of look like a gooseberry, if you've ever had one of those. And then we just eat them. Oh, so sweet. We've got another berry over here that you may not recognize as a berry. Tomato. Tomatoes are a berry, and especially when they're tiny tomatoes like this, they do look like it. These are sun gold tomatoes, and they are so very sweet. Vegetables aren't the only thing we grow on our farm. We also have lots of herbs. So this is an herb called thyme. We also have over here some lavender. Very good smelling herb. Got lots of beets. Oh, and here, I think the crown jewel this year of the outdoor classroom is our loofah tower. So this is a plant that grows loofah gourds, which are these kind of long, almost cucumber, zucchini looking things. that when they stop growing and dry out, you can actually use them as a loofah in the shower. We're also at the tail end of our mouse melons. So our mouse melons are like tiny little cucumbers, and they grow these lovely little miniature watermelon looking things that taste just like a bite-sized cucumber. And last but certainly not least, we have our pepper plants, which are doing very well this year. After a bit of a slow start, we're getting lots of tasty peppers off those. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us on our virtual field trip. I know it's a little different, not quite as fun as coming in person, but we're all doing the best that we can in these times. And so hopefully you learned a little something, and we hopefully will see you in the spring for an in-person field trip. Fingers crossed.